podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You're listening to RAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RAP Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me as always, Harley, James and Jamie. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
One of us is a lot more chipper than the rest this evening, obviously, after last weekend, but more of that later. So let's start with drink of the week. Who wants to go first? No volunteers. I'm going to go first, and I'll volunteer with some water because I've still got a bad throat after last week. I was still rough after last week. So and then I did the rewind last night, and then I woke up in the middle of the night with my throat literally bursting out like that. So yeah, I'm on water. Jamie, what are you on?
I've got something from a company called Brew York, and it's called Participate. So there's a story behind this beer. They went to a public vote to ask what flavour they would like for their birthday. So they said, we asked the public to participate in a vote and help us choose our next sour. Following a sour showdown, pineapple and raspberry was a clear favourite for many, and Participate was born. So I don't normally trust public votes after Brexit, but I do have to say the public choice votes is a very, very nice beer. I like this a lot. It's fruity, it's tangy, it's everything I like in a sour beer. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me. And it's a lovely colour too, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube.
It still looks like squash.
Very nice, to be fair.
It's very nice. It's really, it would be nice on a summer's day, actually. It's that kind of beer. It's good. Really good.
You're open a bloody summer's day. Jesus.
Yeah, I know that's gone now, but what I'm saying is, you can, if you're in the garden, it's a nice day. You want to go on this beer. It's really nice. Participate, it's called.
Yeah, so everyone hold that in your head for 9 months.
Yeah, keep it.
Yes.
I like the name of the company, Brew York. I think that's a good name.
Yeah,
I quite like that. Yeah,
that did make me smile.
Yeah, James, have you managed to make it to your local Lidl and raided the top shelf yet, mate?
Nope, I'm still not on the drink in the week. Instead, I've got a nice bottle of water and a lovely white chocolate milky bar that I will tuck into. I'm surprised no one picked up on last week that I had a lovely stack of waffles delivered about halfway through recording, which I didn't realise were going to come. So I was tucking into a lovely Oreo, crushed Oreo ice cream and some waffles.
I was just not paying attention to you, mate.
Thank you.
Oh, you Warren Gatland must not have been listening then. No, I'm still not drinking.
Okay. Harley, have you got anything from your Tory fests?
This isn't a Tory fest. This is Morrison's beer oil one. So getting through my first batch of the 4 for £7. So this is Conwy Brewery. I'm pretty sure I've had this on the pod before, the Cloven Gold. Nice amber ale. I'm not going to go into it. It's very nice and drinkable, which after the first attempt from Morrison's is quite nice. Because the one last week was quite nice, but you missed that.
I've had that one before as well. It is it's very drinkable. Okay, let's crack on with some news desk. So there is a little bit of news desk, James, and then we'll do some Wales squad news. So give us a news desk, mate.
Okay, with the big news from last week, Gareth Davies, he announced his retirement from the international stage at the age of 34. So Davies won 77 Wales caps and toured twice with the British and Irish Lions in a test career that began in 2014 in South Africa. He helped Wales win a Grand Slam in 2019 and a Six Nations title in 2021. And of course, he scored that memorable winning try, didn't he, against England at Twickenham. I still get goosebumps from that in the 2015 World Cup that contributed to the hosts exiting the tournament at the group stage. Wonderful memories. Shane Williams is the only Welshman to have scored more tries than Gareth Davies at Rugby World Cups. So, fantastic career, brilliant player. Lee, you get the first word in this being a Scarlet. Thoughts on Gareth Davies' retirement?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, it is probably the right time for him to retire. He's not going to make it to the next World Cup, even if he has, an outstanding year this year. And he's in that phase where you kind of got to look after yourself a bit more and be a bit more choosy about what you do. He's still in phenomenal shape. And I think on last Friday, his 2 tries last Friday put him as the top Welsh try scorer in the URC. And I think he's not far away from Tommy Bowe as well. There isn't a great deal. So for a scrum half, when you look at the rest of the list, it's wingers and fullbacks and all of that kind of stuff, and he's the only scrum half there. So he's obviously doing something right. Hell of a talent. It's a shame he had dips in form when he did, but because he would have gone on and reached the ton quite comfortably. But that's the way it is. I'm hoping now that he has a good season with the Scarlets, just focuses on the Scarlets, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go and take the shilling, whether it's Japan or America, or I can't see him wanting to go and play French second division. It's not the place you go for a retirement. But yeah, I can certainly see him taking the shilling at the end of the season and departing with head held high and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, gonna miss him a lot.
Yeah, brilliant play for us. Harley, James, any thoughts on Davis's retirement before we move on? Or
I think Lee said it all again. Key part of the Scarlets for years and for Wales. Most people's favourite moments involve his intercepts, or I think particularly the fact that I think it was twice in 2 weeks he made Ali Price look silly for Scotland and Glasgow by effectively doing the exact same intercept when he passed from the base of a ruck and scoring a solo try from it. Yeah. Absolute wheels, and I think we all remember 2015. It's
yes,
one of the best Welsh rugby moments out there. Or at least when TV was in colour, before any of the oldies start telling me about dialogues from 1923.
I think that 2015 World Cup though was one of those moments that will just live with people, and the fact that he was on the end of it is a bonus for him, sort of a thing. But it was just an iconic moment in world rugby history, really World Cup rugby history anyway. So that and Buck Shelford replacing his testicle at halftime.
No, he didn't replace his testicle. You can't replace a fucking testicle.
He restitched his testicle.
He sewed up his scrotum. You can't stitch up a testicle.
He took his testicle that was dangling out of his scrotum, put it back in his scrotum, and stitched it up at halftime while everyone else was having an orange. It's on that level.
I think Gareth Davis was a good servant for Wales. There's not much more to add, really. I think people's issue with Gareth was scrum half is a really noticeable position to have a dip in form. So if you're scrum half, it's like this at any level, down in Harley for all Penarthians or up to international rugby. If your scrum half's having a bad game, you know it because it's so easy to see. But when he was good and when he was hot, he was genuinely electric. Looked good, was lightning quick. I think for me that my favourite one is the one against Australia in 2019.
Yeah,
where he makes Genya. It's that and the Scotland one, I think, that Harley said, but he makes Genya look like a right knob.
Yeah.
Which even for a Scarlet, that made me very happy. Anyone making Genya looking like a right knob. But yeah, on the Scarlets thing, he better get used to bloody playing it because he's not being subbed off all season. So
no, he's played all of every game so far.
Yeah. That's why he needs to retire from international rugby. He can't cope with that many minutes.
It's very much in the same vein as it feels in the same vein as the Alan Jones Tipperick thing, where they've probably had a quiet word, not saying that he should retire, but they're saying this is the direction that we're going to go, and we'll come on to it. The ball's in your court, and he's probably gone, well, this is probably the time for me now. So yeah,
quickly, I just want to hop on James's point about like with Gareth. You notice when he had a dip in form because he was so influential. I mean, it's something me who've discussed both on Twitter and behind closed doors as well. That the difference quite often between Cardiff and Scarlet's games is Gareth Davis. If he's having a shit game, Scarlets lose. It's when he's on form, just absolutely unplayable. And yeah, I mean, there aren't too many players like that who can go from being absolute heroes to utter brain dead Labrador moments like that. Some very questionable last minute kicks, etc.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll know the ones.
Sometimes his decision making was very questionable at times, wasn't it, with Gareth Davis? But brilliant player, great servant to Welsh rugby.
Depends if he had the family brain cell, wouldn't it? That was the joke.
That was always the joke, wasn't it?
If he had the family brain cell.
Fine player though, really good player for Wales.
Yeah.
Welsh rugby.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's move on to the Wales squad then, shall we? And so obviously Wales squad for Autumn International was released today. Still some questions about Liam Williams even after that. Liam Williams to train with a squad but not be part of the squad as part of his rehab, which seems a little odd. But what did you all make of it, James? Let's start with you. What did you make of that Welsh squad, and how many Ospreys were in the squad?
So 5 Ospreys in the squad. Adam Beard, Dewi Lake, Jack Morgan, Gareth Thomas, and Owen Watkin to 4 forwards, 1 back. Dewi Lake, squad captain. I'm not. I said this on X, right? I'm not shocked or angered or in despair at Wales squads anymore from an Ospreys point of view. If you'd have asked me, well, because I remember, the summer squad where we were the top region, and yes, there were injuries and things like that, but I still felt players had shouts. I was angry, but now it's pretty much what I expected. I didn't expect Watkin to get in at all. I thought he was going to roll the dice and take Max Page, or Johnny Williams, but there we are. I think the squad is fine. It's my only, and I was talking to Jamie about this. The only thing I was really shocked about is Roger Williams, right? But I'm also said to myself, like, is Roger realistically going to play? He might be on the bench against Fiji. It's fine. Like, there's not much to be excited about because 90% of these players we've seen already, and barring a few, they've not shown us anything that gets us excited, if that makes sense. Speaking on Dewi Lake, I think he's the right choice for captain. I don't think there's anyone else in that forward pack who, apart from Jack Morgan, has put their hand up and said, I'm going to be captain.
On the summer tour, wasn't Jack Morgan co-captain?
No, he was co-captain in the World Cup.
World Cup, right? Okay.
But he basically was a sole captain because Lake was injured in the World Cup, and then Dewi Lake led them in the summer. Yeah. And you could say he's really the only person to come back from that tour with a bit more credit in the bank. Maybe 1 or 2 others, but he definitely stood out for me. So yeah, I think the squad's fine. I think the team relatively. I think the forward pack picks itself. Maybe some stuff to throw around in the back, but yeah, it is what it is. Bottom line is, from an Osprey point of view, I'm not up in arms about Ruben Morgan Williams not being picked, or Dan Edwards or Morgan Morris, because if it didn't happen then, it's never going to happen now. I think Dan Edwards has time on his side. Ruben probably won't get in a squad. We know Kieran Hardy isn't in because he hasn't played enough minutes. He would have been in otherwise as 3rd choice. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think this squad's more headline wise for you 3. I think. And do we have a Gloucester representative on the pod this week?
Because all the Gloucester guys are basically ex-Cardiff anyway.
We might need to start getting them on.
So my question for you is going to be around Nicky Smith, and
It's a conspiracy, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
Makes you
I
think.
mean, I have seen a couple of comments from Osprey supporters kind of going, is he any better now than he was when he was with the Ospreys? I don't think so.
No, he's not. Maybe he's. No, I don't even think he was. I think maybe he's rediscovered a bit of the carrying form that he had a few years ago. He was a brilliant carrier of the ball when he first came onto the scene. I I think I was actually thinking this on the way home. Would he have been in if Domachowski was fit? Is the question for me. And I don't think so. I think he still would have gone with Domachowski. So I don't think he's there. I think he's there on merit to a point. But I think he's there because Domachowski's not there. Is the cynic in me, because it's the inconsistency in not picking him. But no, more than happy. He thoroughly deserves. He's been fantastic for Leicester, and he's been folding that league up like a pretzel. So, I'm counting it as an Osprey being called up. Quite frankly, I'll take anything. Him, Sam Costello, Tommy Raffel, all Ospreys being called up in my eyes. Done the region proud.
Okay, so Jamie, I'll ask you about Roger Williams, because I think he's probably deserved the call up. I think he's been the Inform 9 so far this season. He's certainly been more consistent than he has been, and he's benefited from certainly the improvement in defence has given him a better platform to play off. So has he earned his place in the squad?
Well, look, I won't lie to you. When I saw Roger Williams' name in the squad, I was shocked, but in a good way. I did not expect Roger to be there. And yes, Ruben Morgan Williams probably should have been in the squad. I really like Ruben Morgan Williams, but as you know, on this pod and on Dragon's Lair, I've always banged the drum about Roger Williams being constantly overlooked by Wales. And now he's got his opportunity. I'm really pleased for him. I think it's 10 years since his last cap. And I think that he's been criminally ignored. There's been times where he's been the best 9 in Wales on form, but he hasn't had a look in. And he gets his opportunity. And Gatland spoke today about his leadership, about him, about his pace, scoring tries, the tempo he brings. So I'm delighted. I'm really, really pleased with Rodri. How much game time he'll get? Probably not a lot. He is third choice. Let's be honest about it. But yeah, I'm really pleased to see him in there. It was a shock, but it was a nice shock. Glad to see Nicky Smith in. I know James has already touched on this, but it is kind of ironic, isn't it, that Gatland wouldn't touch him when he was at the Ospreys. He's no better for Leicester than he is for the Ospreys. I've watched a lot of Prem rugby this year, but as soon as he goes over the bridge, he's selected. So I think there's a bit of an irony going on there. But he is Wales's best scrummager and loosehead. So I'm delighted to see him in there. Pleased to see Blair Murray in there. I really like the look of him. Gatland spoke today about how impressed he was with that finish against the Bulls, his try. He's got something about him, and of course he's a Kiwi, so Gatland will like that. So pleased for him. Lots of English-based players
11
as well, which has been that.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
11.
11 non-Welsh-based players. Sorry.
Yeah. That raises questions, doesn't it, about the 25 cap rule again? But I don't have a problem with the squad as a whole. I think it's a decent squad. I got no real issues. I am very disappointed about Brodie Coughlin. I've got to get out of the way now. I think he's been very hard done by.
That was
but
my
if it
point.
was a choice, yeah, to me, if it was a choice between him and Evan Lloyd, then Evan Lloyd was always going to win that because Gatland likes Evan Lloyd for whatever reason. I don't know why, but he does. I think he's been in great form, Brodie. Couldn't have done any more, but he's very unfortunate. As for the other call-ups, from a Dragons point of view, I think Tane Basham was probably a long shot. There's too much competition in the back row.
He'll
for
go
him.
to Japan in the summer. I think
Maybe so.
a
Yeah.
lot of these players, sorry to jump in, a lot of these players that we're talking about will go on tour to Japan
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're right.
in the summer. Like a la 2013 Wales.
And 2017.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. Well,
Which, yeah,
no,
yeah,
they weren't in
tour.
Japan then, were they? They were in
No,
Argentina.
they did the Pacific Islands, but it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Oh,
They
yeah.
took the change squad to cover the Lions.
But the
It's
same.
not that we'll have that many Lions.
Shane Lewis-Hughes as well. I would have liked to see Shane in, but again, there's just so much competition in the back row, isn't it? Like, who do you leave out? James Bowman's been going well. Tame Plumtree's been outstanding. He was excellent against the Bulls, so you're not going to leave him out here. on the whole, I think it's a pretty decent squad. I mean, there are a lot of big name omissions. I mean, we talk about Liam Williams, Domachowski, and Leon Brown. I think there's fitness issues with those pair, isn't there? I think that's what Gatland was alluding to. But no Kieran Hardy, no Dylan Lewis, Mackenzie Martin. I thought he would be called up. He hasn't been. No Teddy Williams, no Alex Mann, no Johnny Williams. Johnny Williams has been decent for the Scarlets. No Johan Lloyd. Matthew Screech was never going to get in, and no James Ratty. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting squad. On the whole, I think it's pretty decent, to be honest.
So my question for you, and it's a hypothetical question, is about Aaron Wainwright, literally coming back from injury, will probably play half a game this weekend against Connaught, and then straight into a Gatland training camp that we know from previous experience, at least 2 or 3 of those players are coming home early injured. How worried are you about Wainwright being one of those and being out for another chunk of the season with an injury that's no benefit to the Dragons at all?
Well, this is the problem. When any of our players get called up to Wales, do we always worry about them coming back broken, don't we? But look, Aaron Wainwright has to be in our Wales squad, right? He's Wales' Player of the Year. He will be in contention for selection against Connaught. Look, how many times have Gatland called up players without little game time, just chucked them in the squad and then off they go? You know, it's not the first time Gatland had done this, and Wainwright is a key player for Wales. So, yeah, I am concerned a little bit, but I know Aaron will just pick up where he left off, and he's a very important player to Wales. So I'm not surprised at all that he's been called up into the Wales squad, and it's right that he comes back for the Dragons against Connaught. They could have kept him in Cotton Wool and not played him and gone straight to Wales camp. That's happened before, but no, I am concerned that he'll pick up an injury, of course, but I think it's absolutely right that he's in the squad because he's been a brilliant player for Wales.
And his hair is now outstanding as well.
Well, I know you got a thing about hair, yeah, and he's got a lovely beard as well. So I don't know if you appreciate the
It's-
beard
I only
that's
missed the
going on.
mustache,
Yeah.
just the mustache only. But I mean, yeah, the beard's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
suited him.
It balances.
Here's a question for you all, though, with Wainwright, because he's probably our best 6 option and our best 8 option with Falato injured. Which way do you play him, and who then takes the other spot?
You got Plumtree 6, Morgan 7, Wainwright 8 is our best current back
That's
row.
exactly what I was going to say.
But
Yeah.
Plumtree is playing his best rugby at 8, and it's the sort of style of 8 that Gatland likes.
Yeah, but you don't have to pack him down at 8.
It's true.
Yeah, you
I
can
know.
go to
But then you could give them all like the backs jerseys then. Just put the backs jerseys
No,
on
because
jerseys there, and
positions
you can go with
mean
that logic.
something. As in back row as a position wise, we know the Gatland does like a 7, so that it does like an old school 7 in someone like Rafael, who's like a smaller Warburton. So that raises some questions. But then Rafael's not a carrier at all. And I've said this multiple times. I think it's the biggest limitation to his game is his carrying. Plumtree, his numbers are good enough for a 6 or 8. He reminds me a bit of Tom Croft.
Yeah, it's a good
The
comparison.
old
actually.
England 6. Big, athletic, long legs, like good out in the open. Morgan, I just don't see how you can leave out Jack Morgan from that. And then Wainwright, when he's fit, is Wales's best 8 option outside of Falato. So that your back row picks us. I think the back row is the easiest thing to pick by far.
I don't remember which way around you had that. I agree. They're the 3 numbers. It's just whether or not you have Plumtree playing the 8 role or Wainwright playing the 8 role.
It depends what you
and where
do.
they stand in the lineup.
It really depends. I think Wainwright is probably better off the scrum. But then, off a defensive scrum, I'd probably want I'd probably want Morgan one side of maybe a Wainwright the other. I don't know. It's the thing. It's a good conundrum to have. So.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that wasn't on the agenda. It was just something that was
it's an
intriguing when I was looking at them and who was which position.
But Plumtree does play second row as well.
He's versatile. Gatland likes versatile players, doesn't he?
Yeah, but so you imagine having a back
So
row
he's probably not the best second row 6 option. For that, but to be fair,
he
could do it at a pinch.
Yeah, he's got the bulk, he's got the size to play there, and he has played there in the past. So you could
does
quite
he
comfortably.
though? Well, how tall is he?
think he's
6'6".
6'5", 6'6".
Okay.
So
I personally don't see him as a lock whatsoever. I think he's a pure back row.
no, well, but he's
reminds
also
me,
played
it's
7.
a bit like,
So
for me, it's a bit more like Shingler. He could play second row.
Well,
and a
Stephen,
push.
he was a 10, mate.
Oh, the other one,
still is.
the forgotten one.
Aaron Shingler, yeah.
Yeah, Aaron.
So
No, he's, you can push him in there at the thing. Whereas I feel like Freddie Thomas and Chris Jones are also in the squad. They are probably more the guy you're looking at as cover for second row.
yeah. So Harley, Cardiff players in the so both of them, is that an interesting selection because he hasn't played that much so far
He
this year,
hasn't
has
played
he?
that much, but what he has played has been very good, and he does give you that back. He is a bit of a bash, and he plays across the back three. Probably more of a jackal threat than both Mirs. Probably not as explosive a carrier, but I'd say probably a hard tackler. He's very good work. Almost Navidi-esque, a Navidi light of just being able to take up a lot of the shit work and let other players shine. That said, I think I agreed with the rest of you that I don't see him being our starting back row, but he's a useful option in the number 20. I say for me more of the surprise is Evan Lloyd. I feel like he's had some fantastic moments in the loose for Cardiff. We'll get onto it in the review, but the pace and the break, and he's had a couple of good turnovers, but his line out is really more missed than hits. And if people have him go at Elias for that sort of thing, and Elias is probably marginally better, is better. I mean, it's not to say he can't convert. He's still in second year of his conversion from back row to hooker. But I mean, the way Brody Coughlin's been playing, and I don't really see anything Evan Lloyd does necessarily that Coughlin isn't doing as well, if not better, particularly with how good his line out is. And considering how hit and miss that is for Wales. But, looking at just on what I've seen from the games, I'd be leaning more that way. But I suppose Evan Lloyd gets it because he's been in the squad before.
Evan, just sorry to caveat, Evan Lloyd's played 60 minutes of rugby this year.
Yeah.
Which
Brody's
is
played
he
every
basically
game
had a
this
start.
season.
He had a start and basically got injured.
Yeah. No,
No, he came off the bench for Belcher, didn't he? And then got injured.
Yeah, he's not started a
before
game
Belcher
this
got
year.
injured.
Sorry, he's not started a game this year. He's been on the bench for
Yeah.
all of them. But I agree, Harley, Brody Coughlin, out and out better this year. I think it might be a slight too early for Brody in that sense. I think he's one that'll definitely be on that Japan tour for me. If he continues that form, I get what you mean about he's playing well, get him in, but as we know, that doesn't count for, certain teams. Jamie, I feel your pain.
And
No,
also,
his time will come.
also
He's young
shorter-
and he will have an opportunity, I think. So I'm not too downhearted, but I did expect his name to be in the squad. But
We're
he's
also going
young.
to have a shorter lead in. So I imagine they're going to want to have they don't want too many changes for this. And maybe the summer when you're going to have a bit more prep time is the time to get him in on doing calls, especially with people like Beard and Rowlands coming back in for running your line out.
So just quickly then, Harley, last question for you is on Ben Thomas. So Gatland said that Anscombe isn't kicking because he's injured, but he's in the squad.
He's had this most of his career, and it was a big thing when he first came onto the scene and actually went around the 2015 World Cup actually, and he ended up having to take time out. He was out of the Wales squad for a few years because of this groin injury, and that obviously flares up with goal kicking. So if you don't need to have him kicking goals, then don't aggravate the injury because then it allows him to free up and play. Ben Thomas was a very good kicker whenever he took the tee at Cardiff. Really should be doing it full time for Cardiff anyway, because the Beer's slightly better than Sheedy this season. They're both terrible, to be honest. I mean, it does suggest that we're maybe seeing Ben Thomas at inside centre, which could be a different change in dynamic. My worry is that will be yet another Gatton squad, yet another different style of play. And I really just, even if it is just boring route one pick and goes, I'd just like him to build on one plan and then maybe expand a little bit out afterwards. But it'd be nice to see Ben Thomas in his actual position as a secondary playmaking option, not as the main guy. Although he did very well in Australia. So there's that.
Okay, so just quickly from a Scarlett's point of view, I still don't, even after Tom Rogers' finish at the end of the game on Friday, I think that's probably put him in the side, but I haven't seen anything from him so far this season that kind of deserved that call-up, so I was a little bit surprised on that one. Totally expected Blaine Murray to be there. I thought Johnny Williams would have been there as well, but I'm not disappointed in that, and I'm not disappointed in Johan Lloyd not being there because it gives us continuity at the Scarlets and starting to build something and having your players available now is kind of key. So it's being a little bit selfish, but I'm not that bothered that we're not. I think last year we lost 10 players, 11 players to Wales setup. So dropping to 8, I still think is too many. But Eddie James was the other one. Eddie James is a fantastic player, but hasn't really set the world alight so far this season. Not knowing what he can do, seeing him before, he's been solid, but he's not really done anything to put his hand up and go, hey, I'm at international level. So that was, I'm not surprised that he's
so much right now.
Well, I'm not surprised that he's there, but he hasn't done anything to.
He was good against Cardiff, and he's a typical Gatland player. He's big, he's physical, he's direct.
And he is a playmaking option. He does do a lot of the kicking, which
I've been told on Twitter he's the best player since sliced bread.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but he's a good player.
He is a fantastic player, but we haven't seen anything like what he's been capable of so far this year. So
on the Tom Rogers thing, sorry, just want to jump in.
Yeah, go on.
They're very light at fullback. You're really looking. You've got Winnett, and then it's probably Tom Rogers or Anscombe. I may be able to push Ben Thomas if needed.
Also, there's no fit wingers in Wales anyway.
Yeah, basically all cropped, don't they?
With all due respect,
Hathaway's a fullback.
Well, Hathaway hasn't played.
When was the last time he played? He hasn't played a fullback in quite a while. Whereas Tom Rogers, I think the best game, one of the best games Rogers had for Scarlets this season, was when he was at fullback. And then they obviously moved him across for Johan Lloyd, and then they went, well, and actually, it would be a good idea if we just play 1-10 the first half, second 10 the other half.
Josh Hathaway's only played at fullback 6 times in his professional rugby career.
Yeah, when he came through the system, he was fullback.
Yeah, but going through the system is very different to playing professional rugby.
When Evan Lloyd came through the system, he was a number 8.
Yeah,
he's still not going to be packing down at 8, is he?
No, what I'm saying is he is a fullback option, and I quite like. I prefer him a fullback.
He's also literally 60 minutes back from injury, if that, or maybe just
again another one straight back from injury, and we've seen this before.
You kind of make sense though why he was back straight away for Gloucester.
He's played 280 minutes.
They have no wingers, and Max Llewellyn was playing on the wing.
Yeah, I think Llewellyn's one we haven't touched on really because obviously
I quite like this as a call up actually. Again, got a bit very big guy, very good, very get on top, very underrated distribution game, and is playing quite well in a Gloucester game. That team that aren't necessarily winning, but are playing really good rugby. And I think they've got the highest points for tally, or second highest points for in the Premiership this so far.
They're fun to watch. Really fun.
There's a lot of big backs when you look at that side. Grady, Eddie James, Max Llewellyn, Blaine Murray in particularly tall, but he's quite solid.
Watkins quite big.
Yeah, Watkins quite tall. Big. Yeah.
I do wonder if we'll see the end. Do we think we might see the end of Watkin at 13 and maybe see more Grady or Llewellyn playing there, or we think he's still going to stay?
The issue is
moving Watkin
clearly
more into a 12.
Gatland and Forshaw have said to Watkin, right, that we see you as a defensive leader. You don't lead the defensive line from 12 because it creates a bigger dog leg than is necessary.
So yeah, but I mean, there've been plenty of 12s who are the defensive leader.
Foxy was the defensive leader for Wales, and because he led at 13. So that's what they've said to Watkin. The issue is how do you set up that centre? berth for Wales now, but it all depends on. We know it'll be Thomas and Anscombe. How is he set up that centre? Because if he goes Grady, then he needs an older head or a more calm head outside him. Whereas if he went Eddie James, you can have potentially a bit more of a playmake. You can have someone else. I think. Does he go Llewellyn at 12? There's so many permutations, right, of what he does at centre, and it'll be really interesting. For all we know is from the press conference vibes, he said that Ben Thomas wasn't being looked at 10 this time. So you could put Thomas at 12, and then we could see sort of Grady at 13. So there's permutations to every pick. That's why I think it's an interesting squad.
Oh, I mean, there's a little bit of me selfishly that would love to see the old combo of Thomas Anscombe, Max Llewellyn, and Mason Grady.
And then you can't
But
go
I think it'd
stroppy
be a
when they play
terrible
shit
idea.
and we take the piss
It'd be a
out of
terrible
it.
idea. But
Yeah.
there's just a bit of nostalgia about it for me.
Let's move. There's going to be plenty of time to discuss Wales squad, and
I was going to say there is one more new cap we haven't really touched on, which is Freddie Thomas.
Yeah, and that's probably one that we will leave till another day, just because he's outside of Wales and we haven't seen him that much. And if he turns up in a game, then we'll talk about him.
He's fine.
Being linked to the Dragons, maybe that's part of the plan. Get him capped, get him coming home. So
keep
an eye on that.
Who isn't linked to the fucking Dragons these days?
Bloody
He's
hell,
been linked to
that's
Cardiff as well.
pot kettle black, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He has been linked to Cardiff as well, but Drags are front runners apparently. We'll see.
Okay, let's talk about actual rugby and games that were played last weekend. And so obviously we've all got our pods this week. Jamie's done his already, and lost connection about 10 times.
I know. I had a shock. There was a few gremlins in the system, but we actually managed to get an interview out of it. It was quite good, actually. Mike was a very, very good guest.
It didn't sound like you had gremlins, so it
he did a great job on the editing.
That's because I was up to 1 o'clock last night editing Jamie's.
Oh, you should have stayed up that late, man.
I had
another hour and a half.
I had to rewind.
Tried to calm my daughter down on the phone.
Right, let's start with Ulster Ospreys on a Friday then, James. I mean, I know what you're going to say, but there were positives. There are a lot of positives in that game.
Positives in everything. I took a shit earlier, and there were positives in that.
Yeah, but that was for
you know what I was saying about editing and how long I'm going to be editing.
Look, right. So let's get the elephant out of the room first. Is the 40% number or figure that's being thrown around, right, and talked about on to death, right? That number is accurate, right? So when you say we cannot play them because of resting and because of injuries, it is not because of the WRU, or it's not because the Ospreys want to rest them. Every player is part of a union, right? Or every player should be part of the union, the WRPA, right? Which is the Welsh Rugby Players Association. Per their union deal, they can play an allotted number of minutes before they have to be rested, right? So it's not a case of they are being rested because they're going to Ulster away. It probably happened to be the fact that it was Ulster away, right? And the way our fixture list has fallen is probably suits the fact that it's Ulster away. They have to be rested. Let's get that out the way first. If they don't, it's essentially the same of you've done more hours than your contract, and you're not getting time off in lieu, right? That's essentially what it is. So for people out there listening, it is the 40% figure is not something that Toby Booth has pulled out of his arse to cry to the media for woe is me RFC. That is not what he's doing. He is simply stating the fact that he cannot play parts of his squad. Now I got that out of the way. The game went as expected. We have turned into notoriously slow starters. We have conceded, I think, 9 tries in the first 25 minutes in total this year. So In the first 25 minutes of the game, we've conceded 9 tries. We are being pushed off our own scrum. There just seems to be no cohesion in the backs. I think we're kicking. We're essentially doing what Scarlett said last year, where we're trying to force it and we're not kicking the ball half as much as we were. Stat came out this week that Gareth Davis is the person who's kicked the most in the Irk this week on 60 plus times. I think I have to dig it out, but I think Ruben was on nearly 70, 80 kicks this time last season. That's how less we're kicking. Good to see Keelan Giles back. Thought Tom Florence came on, looked okay. Dan Cassende looked hungry. I think Morgan Morris actually had his best game this season for the Ospreys. I thought he was he looked like a leader. But look, we are where we are. I was more frustrated than anything on the night. I think a lot of Ospreys fans have been quite reactionary, and I was one of them. We've had by far the worst fixture list out of the 4 regions. We've had Dragons away, which is not a givey, as we found out. We had Stormers at home, which could have gone either way. If they had a full squad, that could have been a very different score. Munster away, Bulls at home, and the Bulls brought over that side. So look, and then Ulster away. So look, we've had a dodgy fixture list. We've got umpteen players out. I think there's no reason to panic yet. I'm not panicking that we're bottom of the Irk. I just don't see the reason to. But no, we are where we are. We lost. We're taking it on the chin. I've spoken to people within the camp. They're not worried. They fully believe that they can turn this around. But I'm great. For the SRC listeners, great to see Dan Jermaine, who is someone who I've touted when he was in the 18s last year, to do on good things, comfortable at lock and 7, and then Rhys Thomas, who was with our academy, had spells at Coventry, now back at Aberavon. So big congrats to them guys, and just shows the pathway, is working.
So that's a really unusual combo, 7 and lock.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, but genuinely, he was at lock for all of.
No, I watched.
Age grade.
What he did, and yeah, I wouldn't have said he was a lock, but yeah,
partnered Evan Hill at age grade. Who's at Bridgen now, but then is equally as comfortable at 7. Another one from which is a really weird combo, played for both Lucker and South Gower. That's 2 opposite ends of Swansea. That is. So yeah.
Also, the fact that he plays 7 and lock, Rob Bax is going to be after him now, because anything to not play an out-and-out open side.
Well, Shunza plays 7 and second. So.
Well, he doesn't play 7. He wears the number 7, but he plays. He plays second row on the open side.
Yeah,
is basically what he plays.
Okay,
Rob. Yeah, but that's my book with Exeter.
So, your message to. And I've only seen 1 or 2 of them, but your message to fans that are saying, in line with what's been on a couple of other podcasts about this is all Toby Booth's fault for announcing it at the start of the season, blah, 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 time for him to go now and let's get it done with and all of that kind of stuff. That's a load of toff.
I think that, I'm trying to put this diplomatically, I think that last week, a news outlet via a podcast put forward a potential reason as to why the Ospreys might be having a rough start to the season, right? That was then taken and pushed as the main narrative as to why the Ospreys are having a bad time. Now, that in itself is frustrating, but not necessarily damaging. Now, when you pencil that in with a heavy loss away to Ulster, suddenly the feed from casual fans, right? And that's not necessarily who I interact with on X through the pod. I think people who listen to the pod are a bit more than casual fans. If I went onto the Facebook comments or a Facebook group, right, and Jamie knows this, who's someone who's active in the Dragons ones as well, is that people will look at them headlines, right, and take things at face value. So
Yes.
when you see that Ellis Jenkins has said that the reason Ospreys are having a bad start to the season is because Toby Booth has announced that he's leaving, right? A la Wayne Pivac 2017, a la was it Sven-Göran Eriksson for England back in the day? You know, things but there are examples of it. To the casual fan, that is the reason. So when they see then that they've had a heavy loss, the first thing they go and do is comment saying, well, Booth has checked out now. It's clearly Mark Jones managing the squad, or Booth is not given 100%. When clearly there's no empirical evidence for that. There's no evidence that Toby Booth is doing sweet FA. And I know for a fact it's untrue. So that's my gripe with it. My gripe is not with the narrative itself, because no one ever knows what's going on behind closed doors at a rugby club. My gripe with it is it's the main narrative being pushed by Wales's premier rugby media outlets.
Whoa. Let's not go bigging up the opposition, fella. Let's
No, they're not
keep
the
a level
opposition,
on
Lee.
it.
They're the news. It's not the opposition.
It's people whose job it is to
I would
report
right, I'm
rugby
watching
news,
Slow
but
I'm
it's
watching
mostly
Slow
copy and
Horses
paste
at the minute,
merchants.
right? We are Slough House and they are Regent's Park, mate. Like that's the level we're operating. Like, I don't want to do us down,
Mate,
right? But it's not the
we're the
opposition.
drunks
they are
in
the
the park
news.
yelling into the ether.
Yeah,
Let's
they
be
are
honest.
genuine. They are genuinely like the news.
But as we discussed on our little chat, we're the only pod that's got someone from all four regions. And when we talk about representation, this is exactly what we talk about. When you've got somebody from each of the reasons punching
again,
for their own reason.
Yeah, we're going to need a fifth member.
Yeah, we need a
Right.
Gosling.
Okay.
Don't we?
So what I said was, right, for listeners know, I said that at the minute I don't feel that Scrum 5 have particularly good representation for all regions, right? Particularly us. If you look at the way their programming is listed, you've had player interviews with everyone except an Ospreys player. The warm up, which is a genuinely really good idea of a round table with former pros that have just retired, right? Our only representation has been Scott Williams and Alex Cuthbert. You know, two of the names you just roll off the tongue when you think, right, I list some Ospreys players, right? Scott Williams and that's my gripe. Okay. We also haven't been on Scrum 5 Live. Again, you know, it's petty, but it matters, right? To a casual viewing audience when you have when your games aren't being broadcast in English as a primary, right? So I take my grandfather, for example, right? He's 80 odd. Texts me when he can't get to a game. He says, are we on TV this week? If I say to him that we're on S4C, he said, that's fine, I can watch it, but I can't understand it, and he doesn't enjoy it as much.
It's on the red button. You can get English commentary on the red button.
Right. To be honest,
trying to explain red
listen.
button to
An 8-year-old man.
yeah.
Now I know where James is going with this one. Yeah, I get
What,
it.
just
I'd
press
rather
a
listen.
red button on the remote. It can't be that hard, can it?
Don't know, right? Okay.
But what if Shanklin is your commentator? Wouldn't you rather have it in
But
Russian?
What I mean is
Taiwanese?
we're
Let's
missing
not start
out.
beef with him again.
Yeah, right. What?
Leave
Right,
Tom
just
alone.
to finish this, because I don't want to dwell on this. What I mean is we're missing out on pre-match analysis pieces, interviews with our players. Okay, that's what Ospreys fans aren't getting. Is you see a Scrum 5 when they're broadcasting, they put clip up things, and you know, interview with Tame Plumtree, or they've had it interview with, I don't know, give me a Cardiff player, Gavin Allinson, or someone, you know, right? But these things matter to the rugby public because it's how you're perceived, and it is a petty gripe, right? But it's my gripe, and you know, we're not realistically, and we worked this out, is we're not going to be on Scrum 5 Live until New Year's Day when we play Cardiff away, because that's always on. That is always a New Year's Day BBC game. So, and it's the way fixture lists have fallen and things. There's so many things around it.
What about the Saturday game against the Scarlets?
It's a 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday. That'll be either at S4C or that'll be Premier Sports.
If you're lucky, but most likely Premier Sport because
Yeah,
because
if it
Cardiff
was Boxing
Scarlets.
Day.
No, because it's on the 21st of
Yeah, I know, but if
December.
it's meant to be on Boxing Day, if it was on Boxing Day, then it would be broadcast. So it should.
S4C had it
S4C
last.
tends to take a precedence over the Scarlets derbies because
because
it's more predominantly
So,
Welsh speaking
this-
regions
so,
with
but-
it home.
Yeah,
what I
look,
will say with the Ospreys, mate, it is last season Scarlets had a ton of shit because we had no representation anyway, and they put a lot of effort in this year to
West Walian media, we know, we can see.
to courting media outlets for making players available. Even the Scarlets pod, so they've now got their third interview with a senior team player tomorrow.
Yeah. That's
and,
right.
and that's what I'm saying. It's the club has gone out and gone, we want to be that main narrative, which the Ospreys did well last year.
You're not hearing what I'm saying though. I said it's not a case of them going out and saying, here are our players, because the Ospreys we've made a fucking documentary. So it's not saying the club's not out there and pushing out narrative around players. What I'm saying is we are not being represented by the main outlet for Welsh rugby. It's not a case of appearing on podcasts or things like that. They are not being, and it's frustrating. That's all, because as an Ospreys fan and as a rugby fan, right, I want to hear what former Ospreys have to say. It just happens they'll happen to be in pissing jobs, right? They're not all unemployed like Cardiff and Scarlets players. They're all coaching. But that's where we are, and it's a petty gripe, but it is frustrating when you go on, you see, right, oh no, it's Scarlets v Zebra. Zebra have been on Scrum 5 Live more than Ospreys this year.
But that's just the way they
when are the game, like Scarlets, a lot of Scarlets games who've been on the Scrum 5 slot, it's because they play that's your first Friday night game.
Fully agree with you. It's petty.
That's just the problem with the downside of the fixture list. Like,
that's the thing, it's petty, but
3 p.m.
it matters.
Saturday kickoffs, but you won't go on TV. You have also been on S4C pretty much every week as well. So at least
and again, I agree with
Cardiff
you.
had 3 consecutive games with no free-to-air coverage apart from the delayed access S4C.
But the S4C thing is fine because it's fine. Yeah, we're on S4C, but you can watch the match and that's it. Unless you're a fluent Welsh speaker, you don't get to see analysis. You don't get to hear what pros have to say. This stuff matters. This is stuff what makes rugby visible.
But the question is would you rather no free-to-air at all? Or would you rather
gents, we can go around this all night, yeah? Let's move on, because otherwise I wanted to give you a chance to talk about it, James, just because it's obviously something that's
I bet you wish you had it now, though, Lee.
Yeah, and I'm like, fucking hell, boys, I got to get up to.
I didn't ask for this, by the way. This was
I know,
right,
but I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about it, right? So I'm not going to talk about Scarlets Bulls in any great detail, other than I said, if you want to go into great detail about Scarlets Bulls, the Saucepans and Sidesteps podcast will be out on Wednesday. They're recording tomorrow night, and they've also got an interview with Jack Price lined up. Fingers crossed. That one comes out as well.
This is the one time you should talk about the Scarlets.
Yeah, I know.
League. It was bloody brilliant, and people will listen to this, and they want to hear from you talking about it.
But for me, I had to watch the game on catch up the
congratulations
day after.
on graduating.
Yes, thank you again. It was really nice, and coming down the motorway, and I said to the Scarlets, but my car's got one of those things where it reads out your text messages, and I'd said to them, right, don't fart about with that was a nice kick and what's happening in that scrum. Just give me the scores, and that's it. And oh my god, there was hundreds of messages, and I still couldn't work out the score. And by the time I'm trying to reply to them, going, look, boys, what's the score? Because you do the text to speech to text thing, and then you get that was a good scrum. Yeah, that good clearance that was. And I'm like, no,
you should try being on the private women's rugby chat.
I had to mute that one day, And then I opened it up later, and there was like 175 messages.
Oh no, I'm not on about like the dedicated one for the rap pod. I'm on about the back channel one, which is just like just us and a couple of other women rugby people. And
Yeah, no, you guys,
it's like 200 messages, and they're all stickers.
yeah,
Like,
it's insane. So anyway, Scarlet's Bulls. I mean, I got in on 77 minutes. That's when I started watching from first time round, and you could just it felt like the stadium was a few years ago, and I think that's the key bit now is the feeling is back.
What, empty in COVID?
The fact that we could still be empty, we'd have twice as many as you. Count the touch, Judge. There you go. We've just doubled the Ospreys.
But I get what you're saying, but it's the wrong week to say it when you had your lowest modern attendance.
Yeah, but now we're on with that up is coming. You know, you can feel that confidence.
You've got the perfect game to fill the stadium afterwards.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that you can feel it. And the noise was there, the feeling was there. What wasn't there was the bloody coverage from Premier Sports. I thought that was really, really poor.
And BBC, I should add as well. Yeah,
was it BBC as well?
Bad.
It's Scrum 5 as the primary broadcaster, so Premier Sports would have been piggybacking off that.
Yeah,
it's
usually their own comms, and that's it, really.
Well, there was an Italian guy that kept coming up, going, "Yeah, we're all good. We are all he's fantastic. He's off you go." And then there'd be nothing.
Was he French?
So you know, for me, that was a victory that's been 6 weeks in the making. You could see there was one point where they almost tried to take Josh McLeod off, where his eye was closing up. You can only see out one eye. He'd had a battering there, and one leg wasn't working, and all of that kind of stuff, and nothing was taking him off that pitch because he was there. We spoke a lot last year.
He's trying to get injured because he's played so many games in a row now, and he feels unusual and weird.
It's not normal to play 3 games in a row and not get battered. But yeah, I thought he was outstanding. Plumtree was outstanding.
Play of the match, well deserved.
Yeah, but we spoke a lot last year about the culture that was there, and maybe last year it wasn't in the right place. And you got to give credit where credit's due, that a lot of stuff has changed and that culture is in. Now that the boys are fighting for each other. The player I am really impressed with is Marnus hooker. That guy is an absolute animal, and he looks like Martin. He looks like Big M.
You're welcome.
Well, he is, mate, and he's playing a shitload better for us than he did for you because he kissed. So
he only played once for us, but you wouldn't know about him if it wasn't for us. So,
but when you so Big M interviewed
another great Scarlets player, not developed by the region.
Yeah.
When you put him and Martin on 2 screens side by side, it is like looking.
It is uncanny, to be fair. But then again, I said that one when Josh McLeod won Player of the Match the other day, and it genuinely looked like someone photoshopped Big M onto a Scarlets player.
So now I feel more sorry for Marnus or Big M.
Always Marnus.
So there was. It wasn't just that Tom Rogers try at the last. We spoke about Blaine Murray's try. I think that was probably more impressive, taking 3 South Africans over with you from 22. But it was just a dog. We started really poorly, and last season we'd have just thrown the towel in and gone, bollocks to it. And this year they fought for it and they got what they deserved. So yeah, delighted. But loads more stuff on the Scarlets podcast. Do go and chase that one down. That'll be on Wednesday. So let's talk Edinburgh, Cardiff. Harley, do you want to talk first half or second half, or how do you want to do it?
Well, the beginning was bad. It tailed off in the middle, and at the end, and the less said about the middle, the better. That's something along those lines. So it's getting really hard to stay positive nowadays. So yet another game. We basically kick off, camp in their 22, series of errors, and they break through, and then we spend 10 minutes defending our own line, and Edinburgh only get 3 points, because I'll be honest, Edinburgh, as much as I'm sure Ben will disagree with me on the You are. Edinburgh are they're not great. Like their tries mostly with brute force, and then Cardiff were too knackered at the end. But let's be fair, that's all it takes to beat Cardiff is to just be bigger and physical. I mean, the Ospreys been showing us for near a decade. Yet again, really wasteful. So we had 0.8 points per 22 entry. Like, you can't do anything in rugby if you are scoring less than the point every time you go in the red zone. Coughing up, this coughing up ball. I mean, like the Thomas Young finish in the corner was great, lovely. It's we missed him thing. But then the next attempt, his non-try was, I'll be gentle and say maybe he didn't realise his both feet were behind the ball, but he would know that you've got to have both feet back there. And actually, all it took was Cardiff to be a bit patient, take a couple more phases, and we're probably in the corner. I mean, a lot of people point to some of the refereeing decisions. I think they got the Gilchrist call right. I think that was a yellow. I mean, there is a really significant, there is a drop. I don't think Gilchrist is. I think it's necessarily a red there, and he is sort of sitting back. Look, some people might say that if you start a line-out drive just inside the 22 and you get all the way to the 5 metre line before the opposition pull it down, that's a penalty try. The referee disagreed, fair enough. What's unforgivable is the fact that we then lost the following line out, conceded a penalty, conceded another penalty, conceded about 3 more penalties, then got yellow carded just before half-time, and that basically killed us. And then there are other areas. So Evan Lloyd makes a fantastic, he steals Edinburgh line out through an overthrow, busts up 70 metres, and then the offload doesn't, and then the offload to Josh McNally doesn't go to hand. We knock on, we lose the scrum, we then infringe at the line out, and we go all the way back. There is one other contentious call someone said was about Edinburgh players leaving the line out to form the maul before the ball's been thrown in, which they'd been warned about. Again, the fact we were in that position, I think, is more testament. And then that last try we conceded was just this is what I was saying about Evan Lloyd having an absolute shocking day at line out time. Like you can't, like, Teddy Williams is at full height. He's exactly where he needs to be, and the ball's gone 2 foot over his hands. That is a bad throw. You've got to blame the hooker on that one.
That's a hard job to do. To be fair to the guy, you've got to move
It's a
that
hard
ball
job,
a fair old
but then-
distance.
It's a hard job, but then again, it is his job. And it was okay, and there was just a series of lineouts, so just toss, and it's getting a bit of the same old Cardiff. And to 82% tackle success, considering how passive we are, we're not actually particularly, other than at the breakdown, we're not particularly aggressive off the line. You should really be making a lot more one tackles. So Gabe Hamer-Webb on the wing missed loads, and Mick Hughes up against Doohan, and that's that is quite a lot to stop. But Sheedy's missed a load again. Ben Thomas coming into covering, they basically end up missing the load, and we made Edinburgh look a lot better than they are, frankly. Because if you look at that first sustained period of pressure when we were fresh, they just could not get around us. And then by 60 minutes, the legs had gone. The bench wasn't having the impact it said, which is part of the reason why I'm not surprised Mackenzie Martin's come in, because I don't think he's having as impactful a second season as he did in the first season. It's just all the same shit. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say the line-out's terrible, our defence is a little bit too soft, and we play really pretty stuff in the middle third, but when it comes down to it, we cock it up or we get too eager.
So the question, so I'm going to be careful how I phrase this question, yeah. And this isn't, do you believe it or anything like that? It's, are fans questioning, is Charlotte the right person to be in charge?
I still think it's a bit too early to say that, but you're looking at this block of fixtures and thinking, right, we've got 4 home games, 2 derby, and one of the away games being a derby. Edinburgh probably not the game you were targeting. But I think as soon as we had that Glasgow performance and then Scarlet's last week, you kind of wanted to see a little bit, even if we did have a change side. Yes, we've had a load of injuries. Josh McNally and Teddy have played an awful lot of minutes like recently because we didn't have a spare second row last week, and we didn't bring Thornton on this week. And Josh McNally's made a few decisions towards the end of games which are basically just tiredness. And I am starting to question that aspect of things. But I mean, considering the length of time other coaches get given, I think you've got to give him a little bit more than one season. You can point to the fact that, you know, we've basically revamped the squad again. But there's only so many times you can use that as an excuse. On the positive side of things, I thought former Scarlets, former Jersey, Dav Hughes was absolutely phenomenal. Beast at carrying, as was Alan Lawrence. I actually think we lost an awful lot when he came off again. But again, you know, there's only so many minutes in the tank. And I'm really not looking forward to this Ulster, especially seeing though how well they played against Ospreys, and they're getting the likes of Nick Timoney, you get in your Rob Herrings, you get in your Ian Henderson's back. And that's only going to make problems worse for a Cardiff who clearly are being exposed through the middle.
Okay. Moving on swiftly then to Dragons' visit to Benetton. Jamie, I mean, it's everyone wants the Dragons to get over the line and to win, and it just feels a bit frustrating for everyone. So what it must be like as a Dragon supporter must be 10 times worse.
Yeah, so I spoke to Mike Petretta from the Italian Rugby Pod last night. So that pod's out now, by the way, and we talked about this. Look, in the first half, I thought we were very good. Those first 30 minutes, I thought we were excellent. We were very physical. We were very direct. We created a lot of opportunities. We asked questions of Benton's defence. The problem was we wasn't clinical. There was two key moments in our first half. So the first one was there was that overthrow, wasn't it, from the replacement hooker, ball spread wide. Jared Rosser gets it, makes a great break down the left, and then he just throws the ball to Fekatoa when probably should have just held on to it and maybe been a bit more patient, gone through the phases. That was one opportunity butchered. Then there was another line break from Rio Dyer, who I actually thought had a very, very good game, probably Rio's best game so far this season. I thought he worked the socks off. Wonderful line break. Ball goes wide. Lloyd Evans then just throws a wild pass behind the support runners, and then that opportunity is butchered again. You know, if Dragons score those tries, we could be looking at a very different game. But we go into the sheds, you know, a point down where we really should have been a couple of scores up. Second half, completely different story. Benetton overpowered us. The experience and quality shown. When you could bring on the likes of Malachi Fekatoa off the bench, former All Black, and Albanos, the Argentinian fly-half. You know, I was speaking to Mike about the quality and depth that they got. They had 13 internationals in his starting 15. Would have been 14, but Ferrari pulled out at the last minute, didn't he? So they're a quality team, Benetton. You know, they're not mugs anymore. And they did a job on us in the second half. Just really frustrating because I still think we're a better team than last season. The problem is, and James touched on this earlier, people see the results, they go on Facebook, they see the headlines, and then they just think, oh, Dragons lost again, same old Dragons. I don't think our performances are reflecting our results, but it's those key moments. And this is what me and Mike said. There's similarities between Zebra and Dragons, not just in terms of results, but what they don't do is they don't nail the key moments. And there was certain key moments if you watched the Zebra Lions game. You know, they had opportunities, just didn't take them. And it's the same with Dragons. They create opportunities, but they just don't nail them. And then they're left paying the price for it in the game later on. The scrum struggled, to say the least. Completely overpowered in the scrum. Leon Brown had a tough day. Even when we made the front row replacements, it still struggled. We went backwards at rate of knots. It was just tough. It was a tough night. Positives to take out of it, though. But ultimately, it's another loss. And unfortunately, we are in a results-based business. Even though Dragons are improving, and I still maintain we are better this season than we were last season, it is a results-based business. And that is what the Dragons are going to be judged on, results. And going back to Facebook again, Dave Flanagan has taken a lot of stick on the forums. I'm an admin of one of these Dragons forums. There's a lot of people now turning on him. I fear that's going to get worse the longer this losing run carries on. And I read in the Argus last week that Dai Flanagan has the lowest win ratio out of every Dragons coach. So he really needs to get results, because I think he's going to be under a lot more pressure, a lot more scrutiny this season than he was last season. So it's frustrating. Like I said, I think we are improved. Warren Gatland was speaking about the Dragons today in his press conference. Even he said that we've improved. He's been impressed, but it's just nailing those key moments and turning those narrow defeats into victories. I'm positive, but it doesn't get any easier because we go away to Connacht on Saturday. So yeah, it's a tough one for me. Like I said, I feel that we are getting better, but it's just not being translated into results. And I do worry when Dragons go on these long losing runs, as we've all seen. It's very, very difficult to break, because that's when the confidence then starts to dip and questions start to get asked. So another frustrating loss, but in some ways it's a step in the right direction, if you see what I mean. Because we have been competitive. That's the one thing I will say. Every game the Dragons have played this season, they have been competitive. They haven't been blown away by 30, 40 points, as was the case last season. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. But we do need to start seeing results, because, as I said, it's a results-based business at the end of the day.
I mean, I don't think anybody can watch the Dragons this year and say that they were anywhere close to where they were last season. You know, the improvement is definitely there. And you look at Shane Lewis-Hughes and Basham, and I thought both of them had probably done enough to earn if it had been a bigger squad, they would have been in. But that way, they'd definitely be on the fringes for when the injuries come. Yeah, it will come. It's very similar to where we were last year, where you can see the improvement coming, and then you, to be fair, Scarlets last year did have a couple of 50, 60 pointers early in the season, but by the time we got to the end of the season, you could feel the improvement coming, and you can feel it with the Dragons as well. So yeah, getting over the line must be frustrating.
Indeed, it is.
Okay, so we will do play of the week in just a second. So thinking caps on, boys, for your play of the week. So if you are listening and watching and enjoying what you are seeing and hearing, please do give us a like and a subscribe on your chosen channel of consumption. It makes a massive difference to us, and it means you get to see all of what we do in all of its technicolor glory and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, and it makes me happy in the morning when I wake up and I check YouTube and I can see a few other people have subscribed. Gives you a nice warm feeling to the start of the day, it does. But right, play of the week. So let's go in usual order. So James, from the Ospreys, what was your play of the week from the Ospreys? So I will say, before we do this, I've got the video ready already. You know, the first week I said,
what if I
do
change
this.
it? Yeah, I could be an absolute bastard right now if I wanted to.
Change it,
yeah. Trust me, if you change it, that one's going out anyway, because yeah, tough.
I think it just be the Keelan Giles try. Just nice bit of movement. Really nice by Tom Florence, who showed he had a lovely little looping pass. Just puts Keelan over for a try. Good to see Keelan Giles back, scoring. Back in, he looked hungry. So, if he hopefully now he has an injury-free run and he can get on that Wales tour to Japan, and finally get that cap that he so deserves.
Cool. Okay, Harley, your play of the week.
I've already alluded to it. Yes, Thomas Young's try in the corner was really nice. This is what we've come to expect from Thomas Young. What we don't expect are hookers to making it to intercept a line out and run 70 meters. So for me, it's Evan Lloyd's interception break. So about 52nd minute. Watch just the break. As soon as you see him shape to pass, turn it off, because what happens next will just make you cry for a Cardiff fan. But
he shrugged off Van der Merwe. It was Van der Merwe that eventually caught him.
Van der Merwe didn't really want it in attack, in defence, to be fair.
He was hoping someone else was, wasn't he? Jamie, what was yours, mate?
So I was going to choose Joe Westwood's intercept try, but then I chose last week Harvey Keddy's intercept try. So no, I'm going to mix it up. So I've gone for Ryan Woodman and Shane Lewis-Hughes double hit on Benetton's Argentine winger Mendy. It's really funny, actually. So in the 4th minute, Rio Dyer kicks the ball from the Dragons 22. Mendy collects it. He goes charging up the middle. And what I love about it, he does this little shimmy. So he runs up, does this little shimmy. And Ryan Woodman, Shane Lewis-Hughes just absolutely twat him to the ground. And he ended up going off the field in the 4th minute. But of course, Benetton, who, according to Mike, had the 2nd largest budget in URC, which I didn't know, they just brought on former All Black McIntyre Verto, had a really good game. But it's the shimmy that makes me laugh about it. It was a brilliant hit. But it's just the fact he does this little shimmy as
Do
he
you know what the
runs up.
shimmy
and he's
reminds me of? Every second team prop who's ever tried a sidestep.
He did get dumped though. He got
He got smashed. He got
twatted.
smashed.
Which
So you have to
reminds
go
me
off
of
the
every
field.
time I've tried to do a sidestep.
It was
Well,
good work.
My one was, as I said, it could easily have been Blair Murray's try, but the turning point in that game for me was on 55 minutes. Bulls are battering our line. Yeah. And this is the work that, for me, we weren't doing last year, where we've defended and defended. And I think they went through about 9-10 phases of batter. And then number 8 comes into Plumtree and Lousy, gets held up, gets turned round, referee shouts, that's a maul, dumped on the floor, turnover, clear. And it just kind of, I know everyone else will be going, oh yeah, but what about the tries? That moment kind of sealed that game, because everything from then on, we were pretty much in control of. And yeah, it warmed the heart, especially from a back row point of view, to see Plumtree and Lousy do that. So yes, that was my one. They will all be on social media tomorrow morning. Feel free to vote and comment. They'll be on Twitter, they'll be on Facebook, they'll be on YouTube, they'll be on YouTube Shorts, they'll be on TikTok, they'll be on Instagram. I can't be asked with Threads anymore, Jim. I'll be honest, it's kind of died a death.
By the way,
that
telling
one.
me
Got
why
onto
haven't
Blue
you got an
Sky.
account on Threads? Yeah, Blue Sky, we should go on to. Really.
Okay, we'll
It's
try.
another social media account,
It's
I know.
another
But,
one.
But if you're going to get an app, get the Grey Sky app, because it apparently works a little bit nicer.
there we are then.
Oh,
I quite like
man.
the clunky old school Twitter look of the actual Blue Sky app.
Okay, I should have kept my gob shut, shouldn't I? Anyway, it'll be on all the socials tomorrow morning. Feel free to vote. Who won last week? Do we remember who won last week?
Yes, Blair Murray's tackle.
Cool.
Gabriel Hamer-Webb. 43%, I think. And then there was Keddy's. Was it Keddy's intercept try last week? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that came second. Yeah.
Cool. Lovely jubbly. Okay, let's rattle through previews and predictions. Harley, how do you want to do predictions? Do you want to do them as we're doing the previews, or do you want to do them at the end? Which way do you
I
want to do
prefer
them?
doing it that way, but I mean, you keep overruling me on this.
So I said to you, do you want to do them as we're doing them, or do them at the end? And you said, yes, do them that way.
I said
Which
I
way-
prefer doing them as we go, but
Right,
you keep
okay.
overruling me and make us do them at the end anyway. So I've
All
stopped.
right, we'll
having
do them
an
as we
opinion.
go. Okay.
Like a good little minion.
We'll do them as we go. Right. I'll start with Scarlet Zebra. For me, this is about building momentum, and it's a really easy game to take lightly. And I don't think you can take Zebra lightly, even with the results that they've had. They should have beaten Cardiff. They should have beaten the Lions. They could quite easily turn quite a few sides over. So we cannot afford to take this game lightly.
Beat Munster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not a weak side, and like you say, if there's a couple of passes that stick, then all of a sudden they've won 4 out of their 5 games, and it's in the world's in a very different place. So yeah, for me, we put out a strongest side and we go hell for leather. And it's when we're building momentum, this is the game that you want when you're building momentum. But it's also a bit of a banana
Just
skin.
in time for a 4-week break.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to hold back from. So yeah, we've got to go for it. my prediction on it would be Scarlet by 8 on that one. I was gutted last week. I went Scarlets by 2. Scarlets win by 1. In typical. So I've even had comments from people asking why didn't I predict Scarlets by 1, which is taking the piss, to be honest. But yeah, so
you still got the most point. You still got 4 points for that and the Bulls Ulster game.
Yeah, but so yeah, Scarlets by 8 for me last week. So if you guys want to do your predictions, Jamie.
Scarlets by 14. Because I think it's a really good chance to get 3 wins in a row. When was the last time that happened, Lee? Scarlets winning 3 games in a row? Do we actually know?
My memory isn't that good, mate.
When they beat
You basically
New
discussed
Zealand,
this yesterday.
South Africa, and Australia in 1972, probably.
It was during the run up to winning the
Yeah, I think
the
it must have
league.
been in the champ. I don't remember winning 3 games on the trot.
Was it that
outside
long
of the
ago?
championship.
Has Dwayne Peel
It's the
won
league
3
win.
games?
Well, that's what I'm thinking about.
Mm,
Has he won 3 consecutive games in a row?
No, he's
No,
not
we
won 3
haven't.
on a row.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
No, I
unless
said
you go
the last
end
time
of
was
season.
during the league.
Yeah, no, even
when they
if you
won.
go end of season, start of season, no.
Yeah, but Scarlets by 14 for me.
Oh, cool. James, your Scarlets prediction?
Scarlets by 10. Yeah, it's not. I won't lie to you. It's not how I'm going to be spending my Friday night. Is watching Scarlets v Zebra.
Only pain for James.
Yeah, there are other things that I would like to be doing with my night.
Like involving a stapler and
Yeah,
and eyelids.
Can I ask you something just about win percentage a second? Because you mentioned it earlier, Jamie. I'm very interested. I was very quickly interested to see what the win percentages of different coaches are. What do you think Dwayne Peel's win percentage is? If
Low
you had to
20s.
guess.
Somewhere in
remember
the
he
low
does
20s.
get 2 games against Cardiff a year.
One of them
24?
You
24?
think 24, Lee?
Hugh did this last week, so I can't remember the number, but it's ahead of Cardiff and Dragons. He's got a better win ratio than Shearer and Flan.
Yeah, but he's been in the job 3 years. You hope he'd finally settled in and started getting some wins.
He's played more games, so yeah, that's what we got off you last week. Can we finish predictions now?
It's 38.
Higher than I thought.
Matt Sherratt has
20, low 20s.
22%. Yeah. Toby Booth has 45.
Yeah.
Again, been there forever.
Yeah.
And Ospreys the last few seasons have been comfortably the best Welsh side.
1,574 days. Sorry, it just interested me really quickly, and it shocked me that Sherratt was where he was at compared to Di Flanagan.
I mean, again, we only won 4 games last season.
Did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Someone should mention
you
it
keep
more.
reminding me about this. Jamie went through a lovely period of reminding me we hadn't won since Boxing Day.
oh, children, can we focus? Scarley.
Scarley.
Scarley. Okay.
Scarley.
Who the fuck is Scarley?
You know, Scarley.
That's the pod title there. Who the fuck is Scarley?
That's the pod title. That's it.
Oh,
That's
boy.
confirmed. Scarley.
Scarley.
Harley, can I have your Scarlet and Zebra prediction, please?
I reckon this is the dawn of the new age, the golden age of Peel, and
Cardiff and Scarlet's
home.
merger. You heard it here first.
Scarlet's by 20. Scarlet's by 20 points.
Scarlet's by 20. Right. Okay. Next game off the rank is Ospreys Edinburgh. So, James.
Interesting one. Scotland play I can see Jamie chuckling.
I'm still chuckling over Scarley. If Harley was a Scarlet's fan, that would be the perfect thing for him, wouldn't it? Scarley.
Harley.
Sorry, ignore me. I could put myself on mute.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, really interesting one in Scotland. Have a game a week before us. So the Edinburgh Scotland players going to be at this game when they play 4 days later or so, whatever it is, or a stupid amount of time later. I, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who we're going to have back. I don't know where we are. Re injuries. Our scrum is in free fall, which is the biggest thing for me at the minute. I love Ben Warren. I think he's got potential, but he's not ready to be a starter. And that's where we are with regards to that. If we have the likes of Beard, Thomas, Lake, these people back, I think we have a chance of winning. But it is really contextual about who Edinburgh send down. We know Ben Healy will be down as a 10, most likely, because he's been playing for Edinburgh A. So yeah, 3 o'clock in Bridgend. How else would you want to spend your Saturday?
And your
Again,
prediction
the
then?
Stapler comes to mind.
Prediction, I'll go Ospreys by 4.
Ospreys by 4. Okay. Jamie, your prediction for Ospreys Edinburgh?
Ospreys by 6, purely because of the Bridgend factor, and I'm still not convinced by Edinburgh. There's something still not right with them, is there? So Ospreys by 6.
Cool. So I'm expecting an Ospreys reaction as well. I think you'll scrape it, but I think it'll be enough to break the narrative. So I'm going Ospreys by 3 on that one. And Harley,
I'm going
just
Edinburgh
seen
by 5.
I've just seen your name. Nice one. Okay, so you're going Edinburgh by 5, right? See, it's in my head now. When I did it, Francisco.
Then you kept calling him Francesca.
No, I called once.
Francis, no, that was the one, yeah.
I called him Francois or something like that.
Francois, yeah, you called it Francois, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like,
And you had a small breakdown trying to say section Palois.
It's been a long day, boys. It's but once it's in your head and you're like so consciously trying not to say it now, and I'm going like, all right, say Harley, say Harley, say Harley, and now it's there, right? Harley, Cardiff versus Ulster.
Oh, you're doing this in different orders of the bloody list. Cardiff versus Ulster. So Ulster are getting names back. We show we can't fucking score, and if you get a yellow card against if your team receives a yellow card, that's almost a guarantee that we will score no more points that game. I think this could be embarrassing. I genuinely do, because I think we haven't really got anyone we can bring in. Like Seb still seems to be injured. Sharp really didn't think enough of Thornton to bring him on during the Edinburgh game, even just to try and freshen up some legs. I honestly think Ulster by 15, like especially the way they're starting to play. You can see they're clicking, and I don't know what it is. It just seems like Cardiff have just completely gone flat, fallen flat, particularly after that Glasgow game, and I just don't think we're getting over that hangover.
Okay, that's a hefty one. Jamie, your thoughts on Cardiff Ulster?
Logic says Ulster should win. However, I got no idea why I'm saying this. I think Cardiff are going to win because I never write them off at the Arms Park. There's just something about Cardiff at the Arms Park, and I'm very reluctant to write them off. I'm going Cardiff by 3, and I've got absolutely no idea why I'm saying it, but Cardiff by 3.
I'm even more surprised, to be honest, mate.
James, oh fucking
look, both equally as handsome. We support the only morally sound clubs. So yeah,
what the hell has that got to do
easy
with
to
Cardiff
get?
and Ulster?
What did this pod go into?
Easy to get us mixed up. Like with the most nuanced,
balanced people on the Cardiff owners. No idea who this mysterious Y11 are.
He's a hockey player from Swansea. Like I don't understand why everyone thinks he's some sort of Batman villain.
Christ alive.
Cardiff, sorry, anyone from Swansea is automatically a Batman villain. It's just what Wine Street does to you.
Ulster by 13.
Ulster by
Is that just to get slightly under me?
I won't lie to you, Scarley. I wasn't actually listening to your prediction.
Shocker.
I'll be really honest
the most
with you.
considered of us all.
I was reading something else.
Stop
Okay.
reading porn on pod time.
I'm not. I'm reading worse. It's glad.
So
For you, that's the same thing.
I've lost track. Have I done my Cardiff prediction?
No,
No.
not yet.
Oh, right. I'm gonna go. I'm the same as Jamie on this one. I think Cardiff at home are a different kettle of fish. I think there's in the same way that the Ospreys are due a reaction. I think Cardiff are due a reaction. So I'm going Cardiff by 4 on this one. And,
Oh, you're going to look very silly when it's, like another 30, it's a Scarlet's last season level 60 odd point rubbing.
anyway, so Cardiff by 4. And then last game of the reason they're listed like this, Harley, is because that's how they're listed on the URC website. So
You should
last
change your
game
fancy spreadsheet.
is Connacht versus Dragons. I don't know what the weather forecast is, Jamie, because that's usually
It's
the
go
most
away. It's going to be wet and
important.
windy. You don't need a forecast.
Is it below or above 50 mile an hour? So Connacht Dragons, Jim.
Yeah, a tough trip to the Dexcom Stadium, or to the rest of us, the sports ground. Yeah, look, I got a lot of respect for Connacht. They're a very good side. This is going to be a very tough trip for the Dragons. The good news, however, is Aaron Wainwright is going to be back. That should give us a boost. I've read that Jumbo and Kai Evans is in contention as well. So hopefully we'll start to see the injury list easing off a bit. I think Dragons got to go hell for leather in this one. They've got to get something out of this game because this has been a very disappointing first block. We should have been 3 out of 5. We could easily be 0 out of 5, actually, but we should have been at least 3 out of 5. And I think it's really important the Dragons get something out of this game, boost a bit of confidence before the break. It's going to be a tough trip. Like I said, what's the weather going to be like? No idea. We're huge underdogs, as we are for most games. I don't think it's mission impossible, actually. It wasn't that long ago the Dragons won out there. I think it was 2021 on the D-Rounds the last time we won at the sports ground. So it's going to be a tough ask, but it's not mission impossible. It is a winnable game, but I am going to go for Connacht by 9 because I think the weather will play a part and I need to see the team sheet, the Dragons. I don't know if we've picked up any more injuries or not, but tough place to go. But I'm going to go Connacht by 9.
Okay, I'll go next then. I'm going to go for all 4. I'm going to go for a full house. I'm going to go Dragons by 1.
Well, hang on. That's not what you said on the United Rugby Rewind. You said you couldn't see us winning out in Connacht. Because I do listen to that pod. Oh, you've changed your mind now.
I've changed my mind
okay.
since then. You convinced me, Jen. Yeah, it is what it is.
I said Connacht by 9. How have I convinced you?
Exactly. And his instant reactions to disagree with you, Jamie.
Yeah. No, I think I'm going to go for all 4 Welsh sides winning, and it'll be a massive boost going into the autumn break. So I'm going to go Dragons by 1. Yeah, fuck it. Let's go crazy. Let's go crazy. Dragons, but let's go really crazy. Dragons by 2. No, let's stick Dragons by 1. Dragons by 1.
I take that all day long.
James.
This game screams 12-9 with a red card and for one team in there somewhere. I don't know why. I just think it would be a poor game. And no games out in Galway are good quality games anymore. Like they're just, especially this time of year, it's just fucking awful. Dragons are in a sort of a similar boat actually to Ospreys going out to Ulster. You go out with a really big injury list. I think it's gonna be tough. I'll go Ulster. Connacht. I've got PTSD. I got Connacht by 7. I think Dragons have the mentality to make a game out of it, and this will be a really good test of where that defense is at.
Yeah.
Okay, and that just leaves us with you, Harley, to finish off with Connacht and Dragons.
I didn't do this on purpose. I put my predictions in earlier. But I've gone right to the middle of James and Jamie with Connacht by 8. Just because I just think the way they're playing, and after that Leinster game, I think they're going to be a bit bummed about not getting anything out of that. So I think they're going to want to.
They're going to be smarter than and they will be targeting us for 5 points, no doubt about it. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. I mean, I know Connacht fans, at least, they see the Welsh sides as someone they should be getting 5 points from every time, regardless of how realistic that is. So, no, I mean, most other sides seem to
I was going to
just
say
for
pretty much
5 points.
everyone in the league does, don't they?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's our predictions finished. We've got just enough time, Harley, to quickly run through where we are in Prediction League at the minute.
Right. So in terms of the league between all four of us, we have a 3-way tie for first with you, Lee, Jamie, and myself, all on 41 with James only on 38. A very weird thing that just makes me chuckle because I am a nerd is Lee, you got 4 points for both the first two games and 1 point for the second two. Jamie, you got 1 point for both the first two games and 4 points for the other two. So I think we all basically averaged about 10 points. We all got 10 points. It's just a very weird, just one of those very weird things. In terms of the Super Brew League, bad news, Nick, USA Nick, the Ospreys fan, he's finally been dethroned as top guy. And Dragons fan, Tim 1000 is now top of our leaderboard. I've just about recovered after a very disastrous week last week from 10th to 9th. Lee, you're still in 13th. I mean, I don't even know why you even bother doing anything other than letting the default happen anymore, to be honest.
It's about playing. It's about taking part. It's about being part of the community. And
if you do want to join our Super Blue League and you've been playing already, your points do transfer over. Don't worry, you're not starting fresh. There's still plenty of time in the season to end up winner. Just we'll share the link out again.
Yeah, I'll try and find the link again and share it. It'll be around somewhere.
Yeah, just DM the account. And just keep badgering it until you get the link. I'm definitely not saying this because I don't run the Twitter account and have no access to
it. Cool.
Or the Facebook as well, if you're that way inclined.
Right. Yeah, I'll be honest, boys. It got ragged at the end there. It got ragged at the end. It's been a long day. Right.
Yes.
So, just before we wrap up then, so Jamie, you're not going to be with us for a couple of weeks now because you're taking a break.
Taking a well-deserved holiday, yes, correct.
Yeah, indeed. So it'll just be three of us for a while, and then halfway through that, I'm going to disappear as well, and Hugh's going to take over from me as well. So we'll try and do some different stuff through the international period. Just to get somebody wants to talk about shirts and away shirts and who's got the best kit and who's got all of that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's always the Dragons. I mean, is there any debate anymore?
I'm going to leave
correct,
it
Harley.
When Hugh takes over. That's one for Hugh because I couldn't give a shit. Right, gents. Thank you very much, Jamie. Enjoy your break, and you too. I shall see you once again next week. And in the meantime, enjoy your rugby. All the best.
Bye.
That was RAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.